All right. I want to start out the video first by saying that these are just my opinions. I don't have any concrete evidence or data really to back up anything that I might talk about in the video. Um, this is an idea I had like a year ago probably, and I just never really did it because I thought it was kind of could be a little cringy, could be a little trolly, a little too trolly. But I decided to go ahead and do it because on social media recently I saw someone kind of talking about this topic a little bit. And the topic is the state of pipe tobacco and pipe smoking, or maybe like the health, you could say, like the health of pipe tobacco and pipe smoking. Um, I have little Sarah L Tang, like a brandy, I guess. It's like a teardrop shaped stem. I think I've smoked it on the channel before, I'm sure. And smoking some McBaron Pure Virginia. So I feel like I've seen, in the last 6 months to a year, a lot of people saying, oh, there's not that many new pipe smokers, and oh, like the state of pipe tobacco, it's not that great, and it's, um, not gaining popularity and things like that. And I have to say, I think it's complete BS. I think it's utter complete BS. I mean, I've been smoking a pipe for 18 years. I'm 36 now. I started smoking a pipe when I was 18 years old. In fact, I'm almost 37. I'll be 37 in April. And I couldn't tell you when I was, let's say, between the ages of 18 and 24. I couldn't have told you another 18 to 24-year-old that was even interested in smoking a pipe, that would even had ever even thought about it. But it seems like the amount of people that are young that are interested in smoking pipes today is just heads and tails above what it was when I was that age. Um, I think it's total. I think it's total BS, man. I mean, just down to like just down to the artists and pipe carvers. I mean, there's so many more artists and pipe carvers out there in the world today than there was 15 years ago. I mean, it's not even close. Once again, that is my opinion. If you have some data to show that that's not true, I would love to see it, because just based on what I see, it's just not even close. I mean, I could never afford an artisan pipe when I was like between the ages of 18 and 25. But I always so badly wanted like a Rad Davis pipe or a Bruce Weaver pipe, or like an Everson pipe or something like that. But it's just like it just never was gonna happen. But there wasn't the people like there are today. You know, I mean, go down the list. I mean, I'm sure most people on here could name 50 to 100 guys, and out of those, say you could name 100 guys that are artisan pipe carvers right now. How many? I wonder out of those 100, I wonder how many of them were carving pipes in 2008. I would bet you like less than 10, just of the ones you can name. Not so not the ones that are young, just the ones you can name. I mean, because a lot of these guys aren't some of them aren't young, right? Some of them are in their 50s or 60s, or I mean, and I say not young. I don't mean to offend anybody, right? Like I don't see, just figure of speech, right? Um, some of these guys are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. they just started carving pipes a few years ago. Some of them are in their 20s and just started carving pipes a few years ago. But I would imagine it would be less than 10, probably far less than 10 people that you could name that are carving pipes today were producing pipes in 2008. Tobacco. Uh, Tobacco's a little trickier because in 2005 to 2010, you still had McClellan. Esoterica was pretty much readily available. I don't ever remember having a problem getting any kind of Esoterica. I should have bought so much more when I could, but once again, come back to college kid. Just I bought what I could buy for what I wanted to smoke. Um, but like now there's a lot more, I guess, brands. You have a lot more brands. You have a lot more people out there that are doing like their sort of at home blending, producing blends. You have like things like Country Squire. You have what's the guy's thing? Emerson Southern Forge, I think. You have people like that doing their thing. And brands like McClellan have gone away. So I think that what I think is that the interest in pipe tobacco and pipe smoking is higher now than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. I think that the problem we're going to run into is there is every year there is less tobacco grown in the world every year. Like that is a fact that there is less acreage of tobacco grown in the world every year. So I think if I'm worried about like if I'm worried about the state of pipe smoking, I'm sure as hell not worried about the age of the pipe smoker, because at this point I think that that's not something to be concerned with. I think that maybe when I was 18 to 24, you could maybe think of that you could maybe come up with a case of, well, there's not a whole lot of young pipe smokers out there. Maybe that's something to be concerned with. I honestly don't think that's an issue anymore. Um, it would be interesting to talk to survey a bunch of like pipe and tobacco shop owners to see what their thoughts are on it. Say, hey, in the years 2005 to 2010, how many pipes were do you think you were selling to people that were between the ages of 18 and 25? And or versus now, right? I think my conjecture is that they would say, well, we sell way more pipes now to people that are between those eight. Well, I guess it depends on where you are, I guess, in the country. Is it over the whole country you have to be 21 to buy tobacco or tobacco type products, or is it just in certain states? I don't know. Well, we'll say 21. We'll say 21 to 25 then, because I don't know. Or even like the tobacco, like the pipe tobacco retail websites. It would be super interesting to see their demographic, if you could see it by year on age of people that bought pipe tobacco. I mean, people can buy it as gifts, so it's like kind of a skewed thing, but I think it gets you pretty close. What I'm concerned about more than anything, so I think that tobacco use, not pipe tobacco. We're talking everything. Dipping, snus, smoke. Cigarettes, like everything. Take the whole sphere of tobacco use, and I think that sphere is generally looked at in a more negative light every year, right? Because the anti-tobacco lobbies have, they're really good at marketing, and and people don't like vaping, and people don't like this and that and everything, so I get it. I think that there's higher negativity towards the general sphere of tobacco use every year. However, within that sphere, the realm of pipe tobacco and pipe smoking, I think, in my opinion, the the view of it, or the opinion of it, is, I think it's still positive, and I think it's still trending positive. I don't think it's trending negative. I think some people would think that it's trending negative because the overall sphere that encompasses pipe smoking and pipe tobacco is, maybe having a little bit of, the overall sphere of tobacco is, less and less popular. But I think within that sphere, I think that pipe smoking is still trending in a positive direction. Um, Now, I don't really know what that totally means, but I don't think it's something that we need to be worried about. I don't think we need to be worried about the state of pipe tobacco, pipe smoking, or the view of pipe smoking. I think we need to be concerned with the state of tobacco in general and how that can affect um, how we purchase, the cost, how much we can purchase, whether or not we can purchase. Growing tobacco, it's going to become a point where it's just not lucrative to grow tobacco. So I think we need to be concerned about those kinds of things. And there's a lot to be concerned with. I think now there's a lot of things to be concerned with. To me, the thing that I'm concerned the most with is the quality of the varietals that pipe tobacco producers can get right now. I think that that's a big reason why we have such problems getting esoterica. I think, why we have such problems getting certain Dan tobaccos or other manufacturers tobacco, because the quality just isn't there. And this is my opinion, but this is also based on a lot of research I've done with people doing interviews, things like that, where they actually say that the quality just isn't there anymore. And there are certain tobaccos that are just gone forever. Well, we think they're gone forever unless someone revives them. Syrian Latakia, that's one of them. That's gone forever. I have a couple tins of tobacco that have Syrian Latakia in them, and I may not ever open them. I don't know. I'm not going to open them anytime soon, that's for sure. But there are certain tobaccos that can become extinct. One tobacco that I'm very concerned with is Perique, genuine Perique. There's not that many farms that produce Perique, and I can definitely see a time when it could possibly go away. Now, I hope it never does, right? I hope that those farms get passed down from generation to generation, or people buy them that are passionate about growing tobacco, passionate about growing Perique and producing Perique and doing their thing, and we never have to worry about it. But when you have a tobacco varietal that is produced in such a small area by such a small number of people or farms or productions, it just makes me so nervous that one day that's just going to be it. The tap will be off for Perique, like it is for Syrian Latakia. So that's what I'm concerned with. I'm also concerned with briar. There's a decent amount of briar out there, but briar is such a slow growing plant that eventually, it will dry up. And there's a lot of briar out there that's already been harvested, that's aging in warehouses. It's been there for 20, 30 years. I get that, but when you start using those, you can't. As far as what I know about it, which is very little, it does not seem like you can replenish the briar backstock as fast as you can use it. At least the higher grade stuff, right? Like the good Italian or I guess even Grecian. Like, I mean, there's Briar that's produced in a few different areas, and maybe they have to go to different places and get maybe a little bit lower grade Briar. I don't know. Eventually, that might be a thing. Which kind of goes back to the amount of artists and carvers out there and the demand for artists and carvers pipes and just pipes in general. I think the demand for pipes in general is just it's massive. It's massive. I think if I can remember right, when I first and this when I first started kind of cruising around smoking pipes back in like I would say 2009, 2009 maybe. There had like maybe 12 brands of pipe tobacco, 12 to 18 brands of pipe tobacco, and then like maybe 30-ish. I don't know for sure, but not that many. Pipe producers, and that part of that is they were a younger company. They were getting they were still doing their thing, so that doesn't really tell the whole story. But I think it's still interesting. So. Um, yeah, I think the people that are worried about the age of the new pipe smoker, or we're not getting enough new pipe smokers. I think you're completely worried about the wrong thing. I think if anything, you should be worried about. I think you should be worried about pipe tobacco. Are we gonna have enough tobacco, enough good like high grade tobacco produced in 10 years to make all the blends that we like? I mean, blends are just gonna start going away because they just can't make them anymore. Which is already happening. I think that's part of the reason for a lot of these limited edition whatever that people that these producers like to do is that we can only get our hands on a certain amount of stuff, and it's really good stuff and we want to use it, but this is all that's grown, this is all that we can get, so it that forces them into only producing 5,000 tins or 10,000 tins or whatever. And it's like part of me goes, is that because that's all you can get your hands on, or is that because that's all you wanted to get your hands on? But I honestly, sometimes I really do think it's all they could get their hands on. And I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago they could have had as much of that as they wanted. I don't know. But it's something to think about. It's like bourbon. I really like bourbon a lot. Started drinking bourbon like probably 12, 13 years ago. When I started drinking bourbon, you could get Blanton's literally anywhere. Grocery stores, Bevmo, any liquor store, they all had it. It was anywhere between 50 and $60. You could get it anywhere. I talked to a guy that owned a liquor store. He said 13, 14 years ago, he was sending Blanton's back because he couldn't sell it. He was sending cases, they'd send him cases of Blanton's. He would send it back because he couldn't sell it. Weller was the same thing. You had like all these things you could get, the Pappies and stuff like that. Those were hard to get even back then. But like so much of this stuff that's like allocated and limited, and it's $500 on the secondary market when it's really only MSRP is only $100 or whatever. Back then, like it was just available. You could just get it, and that's kind of how pipe tobacco was at the same time. It's like one of those things where it's like I kind of lived through the good old days and I didn't even realize it in terms of pipe tobacco and bourbon. I will say that in terms of artisan, craftsman pipe makers, it's hard to argue with this as not being the good old days, because there's some fantastic people out there making pipes, making fantastic pipes. So, you know, the obviously you had the Brad Davis, and you had those, you had Bruce Weavers, and um, Grant Batson. I would love to own a Grant Batson, but he doesn't hardly make any pipes anymore, and they almost never come up on secondary market. Um, and when he was making pipes a lot, I couldn't afford them. Now I'm in the spot where I could save up a little bit and I could afford one, and he barely makes pipes. But that's all right. Well, maybe I'll run into one day, but it's hard to argue, like I said, with nowadays not being the the good old days for for the pipe makers, for sure. Just not. It doesn't seem like, anyway, the pipe tobacco production doesn't seem like this is the good old days. But there's still positives, for sure. There's still positives out there. There's still a lot of tobacco being produced. Still a lot of good tobacco being produced. Um, you know, but anyway, I don't want to ramble on too much. I've already talked for 21 and a half minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. I'd love to hear you guys' comments, you guys' thoughts down below. Leave the comments, or leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And I always like hearing what you guys think, if I'm on page, or if I'm on the right track or not on the right track. Pure Virginia, I'll probably have a review, a tasting session here in the next week or two. It's pretty good so far. Spoiler alert, I do like it. So we'll do that pretty soon. So until next time, adios.